Okay, so just as both internal and external factors guide the behavior of an individual or a family, both domestic and international environment influence the foreign policy of a nation. So they are saying that, even if we are talking about an individual or a family, both your internal behavior and your external, surroundings that affect your behavior. So in the same way, when we are talking about any country and their foreign policy, so both the things affect a foreign policy of a country. How is the situation internally, and how is your how are you, or how strong are you or weak are you in terms of international arena. Okay, so the developing countries lack the required resources to effectively advocate their concerns in the international system. So they pursue more modest goals than the advanced states. They focused more on peace and development in their own neighborhood. Now, when the countries were getting freedom, so most of the countries, the basic problem they were facing were that they did not had much of the resources. Also, they did not have resources to take part in the international system. So since they did not had much choices, like for example, if I am just, as a country we just gain independence, and I want to participation in the international arena, but if I don't have that advanced knowledge about international arena, my population is not advanced, they are not, fulfilling, or there are other major issues, so will my priorities will be to take part in the external affairs? No, my priorities will to first have a good hold on the internal issues and to deal with them. So same was happening in the developing countries. They were lacking resources, so उनके लिए जो बेस्ट मॉडेस्ट गोल था इंटरनेशनल स्टेट में आने का, या जो इंटरनेशनली वो कर सकते थे, दे वो मेंटेनिंग पीस एंड दे वो basically dealing with the development of their own nation. Moreover, their economic and security dependence on the more powerful state occasionally influence their foreign policy. Now, like if I'll give the example of food crisis. Okay, now we did not wanted to take help from any country, but since the condition was getting so much worse, and we were coming into a cycle of this poverty, there was so much shortage of food grains that actually US had to aid us. उनको हमें help करना पड़ा. So in that help, US actually asked us to open our economy. So most of the time what happened was, whenever a country wanted, a weak country, or you can say a developing country जो अभी development की तरफ जा रही है, they wanted any kind of help or economic or security. So जो भी फॉरेन कंट्री उनको हेल्प करते थे, जो ज़्यादा पावरफुल स्टेट होते थे वो उन्हें हेल्प करते थे, वहीं से उनकी फॉरेन पॉलिसी इन्फ्लुएंस भी होती थी. In the period immediate after the Second World War, many developing nations chose to support the foreign policy preferences of the powerful countries who were giving them aid and credits. So many countries at the time of Second World War also, so whichever countries they were getting aid from, the developing countries started supporting them. Okay, this resulted in the division of countries of the world in two clear camps, which we are already aware of. One was under the influence of the United States and its Western alliance, and the other was under the influence of the then Soviet Union. You have read about this in the book on contemporary world politics. You have read there about the experiment called the non-alignment movement. Okay, we all know when other countries were actually supporting either of these camps, India was actually non-aligned. It did not want to be part of any of the camps. As you also read there, the end of Cold War changed the context of international relations entirely. But when India achieved its freedom and started framing its foreign policy, the Cold War just the Cold War was just beginning and the world was getting divided into these two camps. Did India belong to any of these camps in the global politics of the 50s and the 60s? Was it successful in conducting its foreign policy peacefully and avoiding international conflicts? So these questions we can answer later on only when we are done with the chapter. So since the previous page was talking about directive principles, so here it is which formed our foreign policy. So it is stated in Article 51, the constitutional principles. Article 51 of the Indian Constitution lays down some directive principles of state policy on promotion of international peace and security. Okay, that how India will conduct itself internationally to promote peace and security. Promote international peace and security. So our basic aim was that we will promote internationally peace and will search for security, just and honorable maintain just and honorable relations between nations. So we will respect all nations, and we will have honorable kind of relations with them. We will serve justice or have just kind of relations. Foster respect for international laws and treaty obligation in the dealings of organized people with one another. So in the international arena we will respect the international laws. जो भी international laws हैं उनको हम respect करेंगे, और जो भी treaty obligations हैं और whatever treaty we have signed, we will look into the matter according to that treaty. And encourage settlement of international disputes by arbitration. Okay, so what does this arbitration means? I will let you know. So arbitration basically means a procedure in which a dispute is submitted by agreement of parties to one or more arbitrators who make a binding decision on the disputes. So they are basically saying that whenever there will be an international dispute, so how will the disputes will be resolved? जो international bodies होंगी उनके साथ बैठ कर we will listen to them and to their suggestions, and will come to the conclusions. How well did Indian state live up to these principles in the first 2 decades after independence? You may come back to this question after reading this chapter.